Welcome to Navigating Complex Divorce and Parenting Issues with attorney Melanie Walls.
Welcome to Navigating Complex Divorce and Parenting Issues with attorney Melanie Walls. Melanie is an OSBA certified specialist in family relations law who helps individuals and families resolve complex financial and parenting matters with clarity and structure. I'm Leanne Lyon, and today we're focusing on how spousal support is determined in Ohio and what actually influences those decisions. Hello, Melanie.
Hello, Leanne. How are you?
So good, and I'm so pleased to be here. And since this is our first episode, can you share a little bit about your background and how your training as a family law specialist shapes the way that you elevate spousal support cases?
Absolutely. So I've been practicing almost exclusively in the family law arena for 28 years. Those 28 years have allowed me to see every possible scenario, from the stay-at-home mom with young children to the long-term marriage where a spouse never worked. Each marriage presents itself its own unique set of facts, which need to be addressed accordingly.
For sure. And what inspired you to get into this line of work and this part of law specifically?
I think I really like the one-on-one time and helping people navigate through the legal process versus, mergers and acquisitions or dealing with businesses. I prefer the personal side of the law, and family law. That's what it's all about.
Well, when somebody is trying to understand how spousal support works in Ohio, what are the core factors that the court initially looks at?
So Ohio has a very specific statute that sets forth a list of factors that the court has to consider when determining whether or not to award spousal support. But within those factors, two stand out: disparity in income and duration of the marriage. Those are the two key determinants. The court may also look at the earning abilities of the parties, the education of the parties. Um, it varies from county to county, and I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. If you're in Warren County, they handle spousal support a lot differently than Claremont County. And the same with Butler County. They handle it differently than Hamilton County. So it's important to know how the judge in your particular county addresses the issue of spousal support. Some courts have a formula and they stick to it. Say it's a 0 to 5 year marriage. Well, you're not going to get spousal support. But if it's a 25-year marriage, you're going to get spousal support at a higher percentage and for a longer period of time. You really need to know your forum, and you really need to know your attorney and make sure that that attorney practices in that county on a regular basis, because they are going to know how the judge addresses spousal support.
Wow, that's such a great point. I have spoken with many attorneys, and they point out the value of finding a local attorney, especially in cases like this. So I'm really glad you brought that up. In higher asset divorces involving investments, professional practices, or business ownership, what additional financial details tend to influence support calculations?
So I think you need to look at not only W-2 or 1099 income, but you really need to do a deep dive into the finances. For example, if it's a family-owned business, the spouse may be running their personal expenses through that business. Well, guess what? That's going to be added to that spouse's income. So, for example, you have a business credit card, but you're using your business credit card to pay for your personal dinners and the gas for your personal vehicle, or you're putting a vacation on your business credit card. That is going to be added back into that person's income when it comes to calculating spousal support. So you can't just look at, here's my W-2 or here's the 1099. You really have to look at the whole financial picture.
And that would also include, I'm assuming, bonuses, commissions, fluctuating earnings, anything else?
Absolutely. And I think, there's more of a deep dive when it comes to fluctuated earnings. Is it because of the particular industry that that person is in? Let's say they're in the car industry. Did the car industry have a slow year that year? Or is it because the spouse knows that the marriage is going to be terminated and they're intentionally not going out there and hitting their typical, 10 potential customers a month? They're only trying to hit 5 potential customers a month. So are they intentionally reducing those figures? Or is it just a factor of the market that they're in?
Well, it's not just about money. Property division and support are technically separate, but then the two often interact. How does the structure of the property distribution usually guide support discussions?
So in Ohio, the statute specifically says that the court divides property first. And then once property has been divided, then the court looks at spousal support. And one of the driving factors for that is if you have assets with income streams. So, for example, if there's a particular income stream asset and it was awarded to one spouse or the other, then you need to look at that for purposes because that adds to their income. If they're a W 2 person, but now they've been awarded this rental property and the rental property doesn't have a mortgage, so all your rental income coming in, other than what you want to set aside for property taxes and other related expenses, that can all be income that that spouse can take out at any given time. So you really need to look at it for that very reason.
Excellent points. Well, as we wrap up our first episode, can you walk us through a moment from your practice where a thorough financial review involving tax returns, business records, or valuations changed the support analysis for your client?
Absolutely. So I think where it comes in most prevalent are family owned businesses. So, for example, you have a spouse that has a W 2 income. You can't just say, okay, his W 2 says he makes $100,000. You then have to go to not only the business tax returns, but the personal tax returns. And sometimes you find that they haven't been very forthcoming to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Husband says, I make $150,000 a year. Here's my W 2. But then you do a deeper dive, you look at their K1s, and guess what? There's 300,000 more income. Well, that's a big difference. You cannot just look at income documents. You have to dig deeper and look further into the financial picture.
Excellent points. Well, thank you, Melanie. And that wraps up today's episode of Navigating Complex Divorce and Parenting Issues with attorney Melanie Walls. If you'd like to learn more about Melanie's work or schedule a consultation, visit melaniewallslaw.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to like, subscribe, and share this show so that others can benefit from these conversations.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.